Hello and good morning. This is Dr. Mark Taylor. Happy Saturday. And the reason for the title of this video is Attacked by Aliens. I don't know, call me weird, but I've got a bruise right there if you can see it. And it's because I had, what do you call it, a calcium deposit removed and it left bruising. A couple of people from the other videos want to know if I've been in a brawl or got attacked. So I don't know. You know how I like to pick fun. So anyway, as promised, I'm coming back with this other video. There's going to be about two more. And these are very important. And we're going to talk about money today. We talked about exponential functions on the last one. And pay close attention how that plays into this one. And for you people who know about money already and the fundamentals and the basics, pay attention, because I thought I knew a pretty good bit and I learned. And another thing, while I'm in that same vein, when I do these videos, I'm not trying to pontificate my own self. I just happen to be able to read, and I go out and read and I research and make sure that they're fact, and I pass along other people's work to you, and I'm straight up front with it and let you know I research and read other folks. Anyway, nothing is new in the world anyway. It is either rediscovered or found. I guess it kind of means the same thing. I find stuff, I research it to make sure it's fact before I bring it to you. But I want to talk about the fundamentals of money. And pay close attention, even you gurus out there, you self-made economists and everything else, because you potentially can learn something. But I'm going to have to be brief, and I made a couple of notes over there. So if I appear to stay off in the distance, I'm not wigging out on you. I'm actually looking at a note so I can stay within the time frame. But anyway, money. Let's look at money. And these are the basics. And then the next two videos are going to kind of wrap it up. And this should really heighten everybody's senses, even to the point of being a little bit ticked off, concerned, whatever your emotions are, however they strike you. But anyway, let's look at money. First of all, what is money? Have you ever asked yourself the question, what is money? Now, the textbook, if you open up a textbook, most textbooks that you find on economics, they're going to tell you that money should possess basically three characteristics. And the first one, it should be a store of value. And at one time in this country, we had a perfect store of value, and that was our money was backed by gold and silver. And it was great because it was rare. Gold and silver is rare. It took a lot of labor to mine it and to retrieve it out of the earth, and it didn't corrode and it didn't rust, and it gained value. Conversely, our U.S. dollar always loses value over time because we have an inflationary type of money system. So it loses value over a period of time, inherently punishing savers. Think about that. It punishes the savers over a given period of time. And it also demands that we continually speculate and invest that money, which inherently brings with it risks. And pardon the phone. But it brings with those speculations and investments risks. Okay, the second characteristic of money is it has to be widely accepted in a population and as an intermediary in and across all economic transactions. And thirdly, money must be a unit of account. And when I say unit of account, I mean it must be divisible, and each unit must be equivalent. They got to be equal. Our unit of account in this country is the U.S. dollar. People have talked about diamonds, people storing up diamonds and things, but diamonds wouldn't work for a unit of account, because you can take diamonds even of the same size or the same quantity, and depending on what am I looking? I'm lost for words. Depending on the quality of the diamond, there you go, simple word. depending on the quality of the diamond, even though it may be the same size, they have a different value. So that's not a very good unit of account. And so that is your three characteristics. They got to be a store of value. It's got to be widely accepted across the economic sector as a medium of trade, and it has to be a unit of account. Now, that's the textbook definition. Now let's look at reality. What is money really? Let's just peel the layers of the onion back. And I heard a guy who I really respect, and he put it this way: money is a claim on human labor. Let me repeat that. He said, money is a claim on human labor. And note that I said claim, because money right now may not have human labor attached to it. Somebody could have a big storehouse of wealth that didn't do anything, but somewhere down the line there's going to be some labor attached to it, or there was. They may have not done it themselves, but there's some labor either was or is going to be attached to that money at some point. Now, in the U.S., our dollar is now, because we're not on that gold standard anymore, our money now is fiat money. A lot of people think that's just a nickname. No, that's truly what it is. Have you ever considered what fiat means? Fiat is a Latin term, and it means let it be done. So fiat in Latin means let it be done. Fiat money has value. Why? There's nothing backing it. So why does it have value? Fiat money has value because the government decrees that it has value. And that's it. So, what is a U.S. dollar? A while back, it was backed by gold and silver, as I said. Now, the U.S. dollar now is not. Let's look at the old U.S. dollar. And I've got a pretty good copy of the old U.S. dollar right here. It's kind of interesting. I never really looked at it this way. Maybe I'm just slow. But if you look right here, it says who issued it. And let me see if you can make sure you see that. It says the U.S. Treasury. And then down here at the bottom, it says that basically what it says is that the bearer of this dollar can demand, whenever they want, that amount of money in silver. This happens to be a silver certificate. I had to print out a copy called Brother is Broke. You want to give a tip or send a donation, go ahead. I might want to invest in a submarine base or a platform to connect with the mothership. Don't laugh, because there's some people on YouTube claiming to do that. I'm just kidding. I can't help it. I have to pick on folks. It's Saturday, so I have a sense of humor. But anyway, silver certificate. It used to say it was from the U.S. Treasury, and it said that the bearer of this certificate, if it were real, could turn it in at any given point, and they could demand that amount of money in silver. Okay, we're no longer on that. Okay, that ended roughly basically in the 1930s. Now we have the Federal Reserve note. Now the Federal Reserve, and I'll say this because a lot of people still do not know this, the Federal Reserve is a private company. It is held by private individuals. There's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. The only thing federal about the Federal Reserve is the fact that federal is in the name. Okay, the Federal Reserve is owned by outlying, pardon the pun, outlying Federal Reserve banks, which are owned by private individuals. Okay, so in essence, we can really look at it and say our monetary system has been privatized. But the Federal Reserve has been entrusted to manage the U.S. money supply, and it was done so in 1913 by the Federal Reserve Act. Now, I want us to look at today's dollar. I just happen to have one. Not many, but I got one. Today's dollar, in contrast to the old one, you see it was issued by the Treasury. And it says at the bottom, it tells you, you can demand that amount of silver right there, whenever you want. Today's dollar or Federal Reserve note is this. What? You got, I'm sure you got one. At the top, it says it. Doesn't say the Treasury anymore. It says Federal, I don't have my glasses on. I never really looked. It says Federal Reserve note. At the bottom, it no longer says that you can demand anything. It says $1. And why does it have value? You can't turn it into anything because the government decrees that it has value. Basically, what makes this have value is that little statement right there. That little bitty tiny word right there, which says, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. That is the only thing that gives that value. Okay. Now, if this money, or if our money is not properly managed, it can easily be destroyed by inflation. Okay? I can name right off the top of my head, I can't name them, but I know there's about 3,800 roughly, and I know this through research, there's about 3,800 examples of old paper money that no longer exist and are worthless, except maybe some collector value on some of them. You look at some of the most recent examples of worthless paper money. You got Argentina, Bolivia, Colombia, and many other countries. It's just worthless. And it's due to hyperinflation. Now, you ask, how does hyperinflation happen? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, to explain that, let's take a recent one, Yugoslavia. Okay? Yugoslavia, it was during the period of time, it was 1988 to 1995. But prior to 1990, they had a denomination, their money was called the dinar. And it had measurable value. You could actually buy something with the dinar. Now, throughout the 80s, pay attention here. Listen to these key words. Throughout the 80s, the Yugoslavian government ran a constant deficit or a constant budget deficit. And they printed money to make up the difference. By the early 1990s, the Yugoslavian government had used up all of its hard currency resources or reserves, and they began to loot the private citizens' accounts to keep things going. And they had to make larger denominations of bills. Like this is a dollar bill, they had to make bigger ones. And I'll give you an example, and I have to look at this to see. They started off, they had the 10,000 dinara note. By the end of this thing in 95, they had went from a 10,000 dinara note, get this, check it out, it's fact, from a 10,000 dinar note to a $500 billion note. Actually, a printed note, $500 billion. Now, at the worst of this situation in Yugoslavia, inflation was running 35 to 37% a day. Now, if you do the math, that means that prices were doubling. The price of goods were doubling roughly every 48 hours. Now, let me illustrate this to you. And I did the math over here. Now, suppose on July the 1st of 2007, you had a penny. I know I got a penny. That's sad if I ain't got a penny. On July the 1st, 2007, you had a penny. And this penny would actually buy something. Now, at 37% inflation a day, by October the 3rd, so that's July, so that's August, September, October, roughly 3 months later, you would need $1 billion to buy what this penny used to buy 3 months later. So on July 1st, 2007, this 1 penny, which would actually buy something, and then you add the fact of having 37% interest a day, by October the 3rd, 2007, you would need $1 billion or a $1 billion bill to buy the same thing. Now, the sad thing about that is, look at it in reverse. If you had on July the 1st $1 billion hid away in a suitcase, guess what? On October the 3rd, that $1 billion would have the purchasing power of, that's right, 1 penny. See how it kills the savers too? How's that grab you? So, what does that leave us to understand? And that was very brief, it was very fundamental, it was very factual. It tells us 3 major things. Inflationary money, pay close attention to these. Inflationary money systems require investment and speculation, which inherently involves risk. Inflationary money systems require us, you and I, to subject our hard-earned money to this risk. And that goes without saying, for the last one, a close eye should and has to be kept on the stewards of those who are entrusted to manage it. In our case, it is the Federal Reserve. Is the Federal Reserve transparent? Can we keep an eye on them? Ponder and chew on that. The last 2 of this series should be pretty interesting. Play this back, rewind it, spread it around, rate it and comment it, because some idiot on here. These are non-controversial videos. I'm trying to help people. I'm passing on information that I'm learning, and somebody's insistent upon trying to downrate them. I have no idea. So if you rate and comment and share it with your friends, I certainly would appreciate it. God bless all of you. Have a great rest of the weekend, and keep your heads up. Hold on to your pennies. Smart Taylor. Be good.